Hey everybody, Jason Burmis here, and I'm on the road, so if there's any technical difficulties, I ultra apologize. I'm going to try to hash this out. I'm going to be in this studio for the next several days. My sister's getting married on Saturday. Otherwise, I would have already been promoting this event because it is an important one, and it is one that is happening this Sunday. Free political prisoners now, and one of the featured speakers is a very good friend of the show, Cara Castranuova, and I don't even have her correct. I have the wrist flex under there. Guys, this is how jumbled I am. I totally apologize, but we're going to come back. Cara, you've been going all around. I mean, you've done so much work in trying to bring people together and not push them apart. You've done marches with Black Lives Matter on the vaccination issue. You've obviously been out big time for election integrity. And after the media and establishment Democrats and even some Republicans who have tried to frame January 6th as some kind of insurrection, we now have what equate to be political prisoners serving time in jail, sometimes in solitary, for nothing more than a misdemeanor, which they are trying to not only ultra criminalize, but to also make into this domestic terror threat. So first, tell my audience how you got involved in this, who you are, where they can find your stuff, and what you're doing about this, and how they can really take action to stop it.
Well, okay. Thank you, Jason, and thank you for having me on today, and congratulations to your sister and her wedding.
Thank you.
My name is Cara Castranuova. You can follow me on social media, Cara Castranuova, and the organization I started is called Citizens Against Political Persecution. We're also on Twitter. I think it's different. I think it's I'll let you know in a second. I'll look it up when you're speaking. But it's citizensapp.us. So it's citizensapp.us is the website where you can find all the information about what we're doing with Citizens Against Political Persecution. I'm a co-founder of that, and this weekend we're having an event here in New York City, where I live, in Foley Square, downtown by the federal buildings and by the FBI and by the Justice Department, to peacefully petition the government to release the detainees that are being held in solitary confinement with no bail in Washington, D.C. jail right now, pending trial, which they don't even have any trial date set yet. So they've been in there and they've been detained, a lot of them, since January 6th. No contact with family, no contact with, not able to even meet with their attorneys, being held literally 23 hours, sometimes 24 hours a day, solitary confinement, which is considered torture under the Geneva Conventions. So for me, it's important to make people aware that this is going on, because if it could happen to these Americans, it could happen to any. Their due process rights have been completely stripped and abandoned. And if we don't show our displeasure with the government for these people, then it's only a matter of time before they start coming after persecuting other groups that disagree with them.
And I absolutely agree with you. And here's the thing. You know, they try to make this out into an insurrection when the only person that died that day was murdered by a police officer. She was an unarmed woman who also was in military service, and that's just shunned to the side. Meanwhile, they try to make some yahoo, some 33-year-old man who lives in his mother's basement, who came in there topless with animal skins on, wanted to take a selfie, and apparently stop some people from eating muffins and stealing those, as some kind of an insurrectionist, as some kind of a threat. It's over the top. And to utilize this to quelch speech and hold these people, many of whom hold down 40 to 60 hour a week jobs, have families, have been active politically throughout their lives, or maybe not, maybe just this time. And they want to send a chilling effect to our friends, families, and neighbors that they are going to prosecute these people to not only the fullest extent of the law, but the fullest extent of fascism and authoritarianism. And just like you said, some of these people aren't able to leave their cell more than an hour a day. For what, Cara? For what?
I mean, if you're saying for what they could leave their cell for, literally they leave to take a shower for 5 minutes, and that's it. Sometimes not even that. But they're being held for predominantly stuff like trespassing, disorderly conduct, entering grounds that were not permitted to be entered. A few of them have violent charges like assaulting a police officer. Whether or not that they did that or not doesn't mean you should be stripped of your due process rights, held in solitary confinement indefinitely, and not have access to your attorney. So, at worst, there was a few of the guys who broke the window and who, I guess, who took shields from police officers, stuff like that. But the punishment just definitely does not fit the crime in this case. And in America, you're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. You're not supposed to be treated like a domestic terror, like a terrorist. They're being treated worse than foreign terrorists at this point. When you're charged with a crime, you're supposed to be able to participate in your trial. You have evidence to have access to the evidence that's being used against you, like the thousands of hours of video that the government is withholding, like all the photographs, all the data that's being withheld. They should have access to that so that they can participate in their own trial and defend themselves. Rather, they're being made to go crazy, as anybody would, being locked in solitary confinement in a cell by themselves, where they're, I'm sure, starting to slowly lose their minds. How could they be fit to stand trial? Most of these guys, I think the government is hoping, is just going to, out of desperation, plea bargain to these crazy trumped up charges so that they could call them that they prosecuted them and that they were, I don't even know what the legal term is, that they were like they were prosecuted successfully. Like today we found that grandmother pleaded to some charges just because they don't want to deal with it.
And that's the thing. They're trying to intimidate these people. It's really not just intimidation. They're torturing them, just like you said, into some kind of ridiculous plea deal to try to legitimize their position, which, again, is fantasy. And I can't help but think of Julian Assange and everything that has happened with him. And look, I told people, if you're not willing to stand up for Julian Assange, if you don't understand how important that case is, they plan to do the same thing to you. And they held him in solitary confinement. And they didn't let him talk to his lawyers. And they didn't give him access to his evidence either. And now we're seeing this being broadened into the American public. And most people are either silent about it, or on the other side, unfortunately, and I hate to say other side because I'm certainly no conservative or no Republican, but the authoritarian side are cheering this on as though this is a reality. That's very disturbing, Cara.
It's disgusting and disturbing. Like, nasty comments I've gotten on social media from people like, you are a domestic terrorist. These people belong tortured and persecuted to the worst of, possible punishment. Like, these are just completely crazy keyboard warriors who are actually, like, sadly getting off somehow on watching other people suffer. And it's actually sickening, disgusting, and repulsive. And, these are regular Americans who were at the Capitol that day, who were unlucky enough to, some of them, walk into the Capitol, which the doors were wide open. In the cases of a lot of them, including the gentleman, Jake Angeli, the one that you just mentioned, the shaman, he actually has some of the least violent charges. He walked in, like, I say the worst crime he committed was wearing that costume because, it was like just a silly looking costume. But he, what he did was he became sort of like this iconic image for the quote-unquote insurrection. And there was a prosecutor on the news who was actually saying that because he was the face of this insurrection, we got to make sure he's punished and prosecuted to set an example. That's not fair justice. That's disgusting. He's literally still in solitary confinement, hasn't been charged with any violent crimes, had to take a test, I think, about a few weeks ago to see if he was even sane anymore. Like a mental doctor had to check him out. Anybody would be going completely nuts in there. It's crazy. And he actually went on the news. I guess somehow his lawyer got him on the news through the jail, and the judge is penalizing him. He's like, now you're not getting out, because he went on the news and he was talking about the conditions and stuff like that. These judges are horrible. They're criminals against, I think that they're the criminals that belong behind bars for letting this happen, setting this precedent in America that you can actually detain American citizens with no bail that haven't even been convicted of a crime. This is happening in America. It's comparable to Guantanamo Bay.
And thank you. And again, here's the thing. I don't think that anyone, deserves what they get. But anybody out there that was chirping about message boards and people being held in Guantanamo Bay as a good thing, or that somehow Julian was going to be saved, they weren't in reality. Now is the time to come forward and say, look, Guantanamo Bay is bad. Abu Ghraib is bad. It's bad that I was just in D.C. yesterday, that D.C. still has a fence around the Capitol. Everywhere. You still can't visit the Capitol. All these things that reek of draconian authoritarianism are coming home to roost. And like you said, they're
Right.
trumping charges up on regular American citizens. We're not talking about someone who had a violent criminal history. We're not talking about someone who approached anybody violently as the face of this thing. But like you said, because he became the face of this thing, and because the media pushed that, they want to set an example. That is not justice. And that's the thing, Cara. We already have all sorts of laws on the books. We don't need more laws or hate crimes or domestic terror laws. And quite frankly, every single one of these cases should have already been dealt with kid gloves. Really, if we had a fair system, we would have given them their tickets for trespass. We would have given them their trial dates. We would have given them a fair way to plea down. They would have been able to post bail. None of that has happened. And instead, we literally have hundreds of people, regular people. I want to say that again. Regular people, not criminals, behind bars. Meanwhile, in your state of New York, catch and release is still running rampant. Crime since COVID-19 kicked off has gone up by 300+%. And while they take away 1,800 police officers in the city, who are they bringing in for gun crimes? The FBI. Well, I got to tell you, that doesn't breed confidence in me, because I don't know if the FBI's ever been more corrupt than right now, because many of them are going with this fairy tale land narrative of an insurrection.
I agree. And the FBI has completely jumped ship, unless they always have been this way. Like, obviously, I mean, it's only been in the past couple years that I really started paying attention to all of this stuff going on around me. It's disturbing that the FBI has been harassing American citizens that were there peacefully protesting that day. I happen to know a lot of them probably don't agree with what they're doing, but the fact that they're doing it anyway is disgusting. They should be, they swore to uphold the Constitution, and they're not. They're going to Americans' doors, arresting them. Some of the arrest stories I've heard from these guys that are in DC jail are insane. Like, one guy woke up and there was literally FBI agents in trees, literally in trees, with the gun with the red thing pointed in the window at his little sister and I think his stepfather. Like, I have the first account story from this guy, making this gigantic spectacle in his neighborhood when I don't even think he was in the building. I don't know if they're trying to set an example. They're trying to just scare the bejesus out of people. Like, oh my God, I'll never disagree with the government, or the FBI is going to come and sit in my trees and aim their guns, their AK whatever's through my window at my little sister. It's crazy that they're doing this. And we were at the Justice Department in DC over the weekend, and you mentioned DC being completely occupied and foreign territory. I was so nervous. I don't know if that's the right nervous. Anxiety driving down to DC. And in the past, I've seen you in DC before when we've gone down there, or even going down there as a kid, checking out the tourist stuff. I always had such a good feeling about DC. Like, this is the nation's capital. Let's go to Lincoln Memorial. All the stuff there that's fun for a kid to see. And I always just had this really warm feeling about DC. My dad's there in Arlington National Cemetery. He was a Marine, Vietnam War, 5 Purple Hearts. And I love going down there. But this time around, I literally didn't sleep for a few days before we went down there to the first protest for the January 6ers was this past weekend. It was on Sunday. Was it Sunday or Saturday? And it was Look Ahead America, Matt Brainard. He organized it, and I spoke at it. And it was really, really nerve-wracking going down there. It just doesn't feel like familiar territory anymore. I didn't really recognize the city anymore. It was pretty dead. It was pretty just a negative energy. So we went in front of the Justice Department and we did a rally, and we said we would like to see these detainees freed and let them go. The crowd, there was some people there, but there were a lot of people that were just afraid to come to DC. So we're doing another event this Sunday in New York City, in Foley Square. And I guess people would say, you're crazy. New York City is the belly of the beast. There are some people here who get it, especially outside of New York City, like Long Island, upstate New York, that are really, really patriotic, if that's the right term. And we're hoping for a good turnout. I really hope that anyone watching right now would consider showing up for this event, just to show your support for these people that are being imprisoned unlawfully, being tortured, because if we don't stand up for them, when they can't stand up for themselves. It's only a matter of time before, other groups get persecuted. And like that old saying says from World War II, that Lutheran pastor, I'm sure you're familiar with it. First they came for the socialists, I wasn't a socialist, so I didn't say anything. Then they came for the trade unionists, but I wasn't a trade unionist, so I didn't stick up for them. Then they came for the Jews, but I wasn't a Jew, so I didn't say anything. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to stand up for me. And I feel like this is a similar scenario, and I really feel that way. Even if it was a different group of people that I didn't agree with ideologically and politically, I would still feel the same way.
That's what I am. You know me. I am not a Trump guy. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a conservative. I'm a free speech person. And although I wasn't visited, and I would assume it's, because number one, I was covering it. I went on the second floor. I didn't go inside. But my friend Pat, he didn't even go on the lawn. Pat Miletich, UFC Hall of Famer, and the FBI visited him. I warned the FBI. Yeah, I mean, he lost his job basically because of an op-ed because he had taken a picture with Joe Biggs because Joe Biggs recognized him because he was an MMA fan. So he lost his gig as a announcer over at LFA. Who is going to speak up for these people? But I warn them. They come for me. We're going live because I'm not under arrest. I didn't break the law. I'm no different than Associated Press and Getty Images, and they were up there. The thing is, if you broke a law, let's prosecute those people under the law. Let's not throw the book at them. Let's treat them like anybody else. If they have priors and they're violent, they did something violent, like our justice system is supposed to be. But I think now more than ever, Cara, our justice system has been exposed for what it really is, a tool of the predator class and these elitists. I want to mention some of these people that are going to be there. John Pierce, of course, you, Cara, Matt Bernard, Professor Mark Crispin Miller, who I've seen speak over a decade ago. I would not want to miss him. He's really been in the fight for a very, very long time. Steve Rossetti, Derek Gibson, and Mark Suskowitz, as well as Ava Aston. So how can people get involved? Where can they find more information other than just citizensapp.us? Where can they go, Cara?
There's a lot of different websites that we've been working with. Like, for example, John Pierce, the attorney who's on the flyer. He started a new organization which is so needed in America. It's called NCLU. It's like what the ACLU is supposed to be, standing up for people's constitutional rights, even if they don't agree with them. The ACLU has completely become an arm of the left. So he started this new organization to support for legal funds and legal lawyers that will defend people like these people from January 6th and people that might be unpopular. You hear all these stories about lawyers not wanting to take these cases because they don't want to be canceled. So this is this great organization that we're working with. There's Look Ahead America, which is Matt Brainard's organization. Again, one of the only organizations speaking out about this right now. There's Justice for January 6th. It's another group that we're working with. I think they're actually in Texas, the leader of that. They're doing a rally on July 4th in Texas and Austin. So the momentum's picking up. The crazy thing is, Jason, it's like citizens sticking up for this. The politicians are completely absent. You mentioned Republicans before. They're discussing to me right now. None of them, minus a couple, House of Representative members, have spoken out about this. They don't want to dirty their hands with it. They don't want to mess with their reelection. They don't want to tar their image with January 6th. They're disgusting and they're weak and they're just completely mindless. In my opinion, the fact that they haven't spoken out for these people and they're just letting them get railroaded. And it's only a matter of time, like I said, before they're next. Vladimir Putin, of all people, was on an interview saying
NBC,
that
don't.
He said, don't look in the mirror if you're ugly. That's like a Russian saying, like, don't, America, you're really going to tell us we're ugly? And look at you. You assassinated one of your own citizens for politically protesting. You had these people in jail for disagreeing with you politically, and you're completely railroading you. So shut the hell up. You're just like us. You know what I mean? And it's like pathetic. It really is. You had the only person who said something at the beginning, and I was hoping she would say more, was Elizabeth Warren. Well, I was like, please say more, Elizabeth Warren. I won't call you Pocahontas anymore. I'll be a fan. Like, if you stick up for these people, And she hasn't said anything since, but she actually did speak out and say that what's happening to them is wrong. That solitary confinement is torture, and that they're trying to break them before their trial. And then there's like silence from the Republican end of it, and that goes not just for the politicians, but a lot of the groups like the local groups, the state groups, none of them have an opinion on this. They're disgusting, you know. I mean, unfortunately, right now, the Republican Party is the lesser of two evils, as far as I'm concerned. But you know, it was difficult getting the speakers for the event, and I'm so glad that we have the ones that we do have. And you actually, I'm impressed by the way you pronounced the last one's name. Nobody could pronounce his name, including me. March. Derek and Mark are local guys running for office, and they have way more nerve and, you know, guts than the guys who are in office. And then there's the professor that you mentioned, Professor Miller, who's amazing. I interviewed him for I have a new podcast, just so you can check it out. It's called Book. Yeah, it's brand new, and we interviewed him this week. He's really smart and he's really well spoken, and he brings this whole new perspective onto things just because of the way he speaks, like very professorally. And he's really, and he's not a Trump supporter by any means. He considers himself more towards the left, but he's like, it's disgusting. Political persecution is political persecution. Free speech is free speech. You know, don't wish something on your enemy that you wouldn't wish on yourself, because it can come back and hit you, right? It's even harder. You know what I mean? The pendulum will swing. So he's speaking at the event, which we're so excited about at that as well. And who else? There's Ava, who's going to sing the national anthem. And you know these like singers nowadays, they don't want to get canceled out, and they're so terrified to put their name on anything like this. It's it's difficult to get a patriotic singer that has the backbone to not be afraid of, Hollywood's completely corrupt. They completely will not give you jobs if you're a recording artist, or if you're a celebrity, or if you're anything, a reality star, whatever it is. It's like you just, even for myself, I don't even bother. I'll get auditions and I'm like, why do I even bother? I know I'm more than likely not going to get the job. All they got to do is Google my name, and they're going to be like, whether they agree with me or not. That's the sad thing. A lot of them probably do agree, but they're just going to be like, she's sticking up for political prisoners. She believes in personal freedom when it comes to a vaccine, like, big X right there. So I really respect the people that are actually coming to speak, and I can't even say that enough. And hopefully moving forward, more people will come out and they'll organize rallies around the country, and people will speak out. Very few people have spoken out about this. And I'll name them really quick. Cassandra Fairbanks, Gateway Pundit, one of my favorite journalists. She's so amazing, and she's literally a national treasure, as well as Julie Kelly, who's a journalist. I don't even think she necessarily writes for anyone. She does it for herself and for America. She's amazing. She's been breaking the story. Then you have people like they were the real people who really started talking about this stuff before it broke out a little bit into the mainstream. Tucker Carlson touched on it. Ron Paul mentioned it on the Liberty Report. Mark Levine, I think he talked about it too. But it's far and few in between people that are talking about this, and hopefully it becomes more of the conversation.
Well, absolutely. It's not a right or left issue, and I want to make it very, very clear it's not a right and left issue. If you see what the zombie in office reads off a teleprompter, he's telling you the new terror threat is white supremacy. He told you he doesn't think there might not be a Republican Party in 4 years. Think about that. I'm not even a right-left guy. I'm not a Republican Democrat guy. But when they're outwardly talking about taking out the other major political party into non-existence, we are over the top. And he has said, because ISIS and Al-Qaeda are no longer the threat that white supremacy is, he is going to be launching his own domestic terror force. And I would suggest you check out this article, Cara. It was out actually a little over a month ago. It's called, I'll DM it to you. It's America's Secret Military, and it goes over. We already have a secret military force working in the United States against the American populace, and there has never once been one congressional hearing on this, and it is called signature reduction. And they plan on keep rolling this forward and forward and forward and forward. And unless we start pushing back major for people we may not agree with, they're coming for all of us, all the political dissidents. So, Cara, I know you got to go by 7:30. Let's wrap it up. Tell people where they can find you, and one more time how to support you, and why they should come out on the 27th, that's this Sunday.
Thanks, Jason. So come out this Sunday. So important. It's such a critical time in America right now. We need to support people that's rights have been stripped away. or it's only a matter of time before they come for the rest of us. Come support the Free Political Prisoners Now rally in Foley Square, downtown Manhattan, this Sunday on June 27th. And there's very informative speakers there. We're going to peacefully protest, petition the government to let these guys go and to stop persecuting American citizens. You can follow me at Cara Castranuova on Twitter, on all the other social media sites. Also, my podcast is at Thought Villains. It's brand new, so please like and support it. Get it out there. And Citizens Against Political Persecution is my organization. The website is www.citizensapp.us. You could donate on the website. Everything goes to this cause and to helping the families of the victims that are in prison right now. So go to that website. You'll find so much information on the people that are being detained and everything else that's related subject matter. So thank you so much, Jason. I know that you've been so great with your show and everything you cover, and you're like one of the, few people that actually have the nerve to speak up. More people are needed like you, and I really admire what you do.
Well, thank you so much, and I wish I wasn't like one of the only people speaking up. Yeah, and I'll say it again. No one's coming to save you. That's why it's hashtag be your own hero. Every day you look in the mirror, can you live with yourself with the tyranny that's going on? Because you know what? They're not just coming for you. They're coming for your kids too. And that's a whole nother subject that I'm sure we can get into some other time. Cara, keep kicking ass and taking names. And I hope everybody that can comes out to Foley Square in Manhattan from 12 to 2 this Sunday. I'll talk.
Yes.
Let's definitely get together after this and talk about some more solutions and how this event went. Okay.
Thank you, Jason. Have a great night.
All right. You
Bye,
rock.
everybody.
That is Cara Castranuova, everybody. She totally rocks. And I'm going to say it again. Please, please, please go check this thing out. Remember, you can follow her at Cara Castranuova. I want you to go over to the Rockfin. Go over to the Rockfin. Go over to the Rockfin. We're probably going to do a double stream a little later on, maybe an Ask Me Anything, but the majority of it is going to be over at the Rockfin. Go make the free account. If you do subscribe to the premium stuff, you get all my premium content and everybody else's premium content on there. And I do want to remind everybody, I am a documentary filmmaker. I think my documentary films are extremely important. I think that, if you've only seen me on video, if you've only seen a walk and talk, or you've seen a deep dive, or you've seen an interview, you don't know what you're missing by not seeing this information. It's hard. It's not easy. But it's going to give you, how do I say this? A better ability for you to prepare yourself for not only what's coming, but what's being thrown at you constantly. And how to navigate the things we're seeing going on right now. And really the only navigation is forward and against this tyranny. But you got to recognize it first. Okay? You can't go to the false idols. So guys, I love you for supporting me. Thumbs it up, subscribe, share, and I will see you all on the flip side.